You are currently holding a vibrational key to a door that the vast majority of the human population will never even perceive, let alone open. This is not a statement of arrogance, nor is it a judgment of their worth. It is a matter of physics. The secret I am about to unveil to you remains invisible to the masses, not because it is deliberately hidden behind walls of stone or encrypted in lost languages, but because it exists on a frequency band that most consciousnesses simply have not calibrated themselves to receive. It is right there, in the open air, vibrating in the space between their thoughts, yet they walk through it like ghosts, untouched and unaware. The reason they miss it, and the reason you are here, is a matter of readiness. In the quantum architecture of reality, information does not travel to those who need it, it travels to those who are resonant with it. There exists a transmission, a relentless, intelligent broadcast that moves through the fabric of reality like water, seeking its absolute level. It flows through the noise of modern chaos, bypassing the static of the ego, looking for a specific receiver, a teaching that reveals its true geometry only when the observer's consciousness reaches the exact, precise frequency required to decode the signal. This is not mysticism dressed up in the robes of ancient wisdom. We must stop thinking of spirituality as magic and start understanding it as the mechanics of how the universe actually operates. It is energetic engineering, and right now, in this singular, fleeting moment, if your attention is locked onto this message, it signifies a monumental shift. It means that something deep within your internal structure, perhaps a part of you that you haven't even met yet, has aligned with the frequency that magnetized you to this specific point in space and time. The ancient architects of wisdom, the sages who walked the earth before history was written, understood this principle with terrifying clarity. They did not write their texts to inform the intellect. They wrote them to activate the dormant DNA of the soul. They knew that information is cheap, but transformation is costly. Every parable they etched into stone, every story they passed down through firelight, every seemingly simple tale contained within their sacred texts was never meant to be mere entertainment. They were not storytellers, they were cryptographic locksmiths. Each narrative was a sonic key, designed with a specific groove and shape, and that key only turned in the lock when the reader's inner mechanism had evolved enough to match its unique shape. This is why you can read a book at 20 and feel nothing, then read the same book at 40 and have your entire world shattered and rebuilt. The book didn't change. The code didn't change. You changed. Your frequency shifted into the bandwidth where the data could finally be downloaded. What you are about to discover in this series is not just a collection of interesting stories or metaphors. We are not here to entertain your mind. We are here to engage with a living technology of consciousness. You are engaging with a transmission that does not exist in linear time. It exists in resonance. The fact that you are here, breathing, watching, and feeling this pull, that is not a digital algorithm doing its job. That is cosmic recognition. That is the universe looking at itself through your eyes and saying, finally, you are ready. The signal has found its target. The question is no longer if the broadcast is real. The question is, can you hold the charge without burning out the circuitry of your old beliefs? Let's dismantle the greatest illusion you have been sold since birth. Let me explain what is really happening beneath the surface of your daily struggle. You have been conditioned to believe that the universe functions like a cosmic vending machine. The logic seems sound to the primitive mind. You insert the currency of effort, you punch in the code of your desire, and you wait for the result to drop into the tray. If it doesn't drop, you shake the machine, you work harder, you struggle more, you assume the machine is broken or that you are unworthy of the snack. But this model is fundamentally flawed. The universe does not operate on transactions, it operates on transmission. It functions far more like a radio, a vast, infinite transmitter that is constantly broadcasting signals across billions of different frequencies simultaneously. Wealth is a frequency, love is a frequency, chaos is a frequency, peace is a frequency. They are all broadcasting right now in this room, overlapping one another in the same space. The universe is not withholding the station you want to hear. It is broadcasting it at maximum power, eternally. What you receive, what manifests as the physical reality of your life, depends entirely, 100%, on where your internal dial is tuned. This is the brutal and liberating truth. Most people spend their entire lives screaming at the radio tower, begging it to change the song, trying to force the universe to broadcast on their specific, limited frequency. They exhaust themselves, burn out, and fall into cynicism, never realizing that the transmitter is constant. All they ever needed to do was stop screaming and start adjusting their own reception. You have been taught a lie about the pursuit of knowledge. You have been taught that finding wisdom is about searching, about the hunt. That truth belongs to the ones who run the fastest, dig the deepest, and push the furthest into the unknown. We glorify the seeker, the exhausted traveler who climbs the mountain with bleeding hands. But here is the secret that no one tells you, because it renders the struggle obsolete. The greatest teachings do not arrive through effort. They arrive through alignment. Consider the physics of a magnet. A magnet does not try to attract iron. It does not sweat. It does not strain. It does not attend seminars on how to be more magnetic. It simply is the frequency of magnetism, and the iron has no choice but to respond. It is a law, not a task. Think about your own timeline for a moment. Scan the archives of your memory. Haven't there been books that appeared on a shelf at the exact precise second you needed the answer they contained? Not a day earlier, not a day later. Reflect on the conversations that erupted spontaneously with a stranger, delivering a sentence that answered a question your soul was screaming, even though your lips had never spoken it aloud. Remember the teachers who materialized out of thin air, just as you were truly ready to learn what they had to offer. We call this luck or coincidence to dismiss it, because to acknowledge it is to acknowledge that we are not in control in the way we think we are. This is not luck. This is the fundamental operating system of reality. The universe is not a passive, dead backdrop against which you move your little chess piece. It is an intelligent, hyper-responsive field. It is alive. It is listening, not to your words, but to your vibration. And when your awareness reaches a specific vibrational state, when you've lived through enough pain to crack the shell of the ego, when you have asked enough questions to clear the static, suddenly, what you need appears. It doesn't travel to you, it reveals itself as having been there all along. We are exploring a concept today, derived from an ancient, almost forgotten text that refers to itself as the ritual of the universe. But do not let the archaic name fool you. This is quantum mechanics explained through the lens of the mystic. Here is what makes this specific teaching different from every other spiritual book, seminar, or video you have ever encountered. Most teachings claim to be found. They sit on the mountaintop waiting for you to climb. This teaching is different. It does not claim to be found. It claims to find you. Read that again in your mind. It does not wait to be discovered. It is predatory in the most benevolent sense. It stalks readiness. It scans the collective consciousness, looking for the thermal signature of an awakening soul. It recognizes when your consciousness has reached the critical threshold where its seeds can actually take root and survive. And then, and only then, does it reveal itself. It decloaks. This is the first principle of cosmic law that 99% of seekers miss entirely, keeping them trapped on the hamster wheel of spiritual seeking. The treasures of existence, the profound clarity, the boundless abundance, the electric connection to the divine are not being withheld from you by a judging God or a cruel universe. They are right in front of your face. They are waiting for you to become the version of yourself that can hold them without shattering. You cannot force readiness. You cannot fake alignment. You can lie to your boss. You can lie to your spouse. You can even lie to yourself in the mirror, but you cannot lie to the field. The universe reads the actual frequency of your being, the raw data of your vibration, not the pretty story you tell yourself about who you are. If this is landing for you, if you feel a resonance in your chest that feels like a memory of something you've never known, take a moment to acknowledge it. This transmission relies on the network effect of consciousness. By engaging with this, hitting the like, subscribing. You are not just helping an algorithm. You are signaling to the field that you are part of this frequency node. You are strengthening the signal for others who are blindly searching for this exact wavelength. When that frequency matches what is available, reality reorganizes itself. This is not a metaphor. The atoms of your life rearrange. Phone calls happen. Emails arrive. Paths cross. The universe pivots to deliver exactly what you need. But there is something else happening here. A nuance that most modern spirituality misses entirely. They focus obsessively on the doing. What mantras must I chant? What yoga pose must I master? What diet must I follow? They are obsessed with the external architecture of holiness. But the deepest teachings, the ones that actually alter the fabric of your soul, don't ask you to do anything. They ask you to recognize what is already present. They ask you to see with new eyes what has been staring you in the face for a decade. It is invisible only because you were not vibrating at the frequency where it becomes visible. Think of it like this. Imagine a room filled with infrared light. It is blasting, intense, radiant heat. But you are standing there, shivering in the dark, claiming there is no light. Does the light not exist because your biological eyes are not built to perceive that part of the spectrum? No. The light is objective reality. Your perception is subjective limitation. It means your perception hasn't expanded to include the reality that is already enveloping you. The moment you put on infrared goggles, the moment you upgrade your internal technology, suddenly you see a whole dimension of reality that was always there. You don't create the light, you reveal it. Consciousness works the exact same way as the infrared spectrum. There are dimensions of possibility, timelines of extraordinary victory, and networks of support surrounding you right now, in this very second. Opportunities that could change your bank balance overnight, connections that could heal your heart instantly, insights that could solve your oldest problems. They are absolutely present. They are physically real, but they are completely invisible to your current frequency. They are not being withheld. They are simply waiting for your awareness to expand enough to include them. And the moment it does, the moment you tune the dial, reality doesn't change. Your perception of reality changes. And in practical terms, when your perception changes, everything changes. The locked doors dissolve because you finally see the handle. The obstacles vanish because you realize they were optical illusions of fear. Let me take you somewhere to anchor this concept. We need to leave the abstract and enter the imaginal realm. I want you to visit the merchant's marketplace of consciousness. Close your eyes for a moment. Actually do it. Disconnect from the room you are in. Imagine you are walking through the dust and heat of an ancient marketplace, but this is not the kind you find in history books. This bazaar exists in the liminal space between thought and matter, a place where the currency is attention and the goods are fragments of destiny. There is a vendor there. Let's call her Jessica Martinez in this telling, though she has had 1,000 names in 1,000 lifetimes. She sits behind a table covered with objects that shimmer with an impossible liquid light. There are vessels made from crystallized starlight that pulse when you look at them, mirrors that do not reflect your face, but reflect your highest potential, showing you the you that you are afraid to become. Rings woven from the fabric of wishes that never came true, but always mattered, holding the energy of unspent desire. Jessica has a problem that defies all economic logic. She cannot sell anything. She is the keeper of the most valuable inventory in the cosmos, yet she is destitute, not because people don't want what she has. They do. They crave it desperately. They come to her stall with hunger in their eyes, but every time someone tries to buy one of her treasures, the payment dissolves. Gold coins turn to dried, brittle leaves. Silver bars transform into vapor and drift away. Even precious gems crumble into worthless gray dust the moment they touch her palm. For years, she believes she is failing. She internalizes this rejection. She thinks she is the worst merchant in all of Damascus, cursed by the gods, burdened with goods that refuse to be traded. She believes the flaw is in her or in the goods. She never suspects the flaw is in the buyer. Until one evening, as the sun bleeds purple across the horizon, something shifts. A traveler approaches. He is dusty, worn, his eyes hollow from searching, his hands empty from loss. He is not a tourist. He is a pilgrim. He doesn't know what he is looking for. He only knows he has been looking for lifetimes. He has exhausted every map, burned every guide, and stripped himself of every expectation. And when his gaze falls on a simple, battered copper bowl that 100 others have tried to purchase before him, a bowl they saw as a trinket, something extraordinary happens. The bowl begins to hum, not with sound, but with presence. It vibrates with a frequency that only he can feel, a resonance that rattles his very bones. When he lifts it, every cell in his body recognizes what his mind doesn't yet understand. This object has been waiting for him. Not for anyone else, not for the wealthy merchants, not for the curious tourists. It was waiting for him at this exact moment, after this exact journey. When he offers his humble payment, the coins remain solid in Jessica's hand. They do not turn to dust. The transaction completes. The bowl has found its destined owner. This is when Jessica discovers the truth that changes everything she knows about the universe. Her items were never refusing to be sold. They were refusing to be bought by people who were not ready for them. Each object on that table was encoded with a specific consciousness signature. It was locked, cryptographically secured by the laws of vibration. It would only materialize, only become dense, real, and possessible when someone whose awareness matched that signature arrived in the field. Until that moment, it was essentially a hologram to anyone else, a ghost of a possibility that crumbled when grasped by the wrong hands. You see, the universe does not operate on the economics of scarcity, where there isn't enough to go around. It operates on the physics of resonance, where everything is available to the one who matches it. This is the axiom that should be tattooed on your subconscious. What you seek is also seeking you. But let's be precise here. It is not seeking the you that you pretend to be. It is not seeking the mask you wear for society, the persona you curated for social media, or the defensive shell you built to survive your childhood. It is seeking the you that you are becoming. It is hunting for the version of you that has lived through enough fire, transformed enough pain, and opened enough capacity to actually hold what is about to be poured into you. Here is what this means in the brutal, beautiful reality of your Tuesday morning. Every book that has ever shattered your worldview and put it back together better, every teaching that cracked your heart open, every relationship that burned you down to the ground so you could rise as a phoenix, none of them were accidents. They were not random collisions of particles. They were cosmic appointments. They were scheduled before you took your first breath. Your consciousness sent out a distress signal, a specific request for evolution, and reality responded. It didn't respond with what you wanted, comfort. It responded with what you needed, transformation, precisely when you had the capacity to receive it. The question isn't whether the universe is abundant. The universe is drowning in abundance. It is the only thing it knows how to produce. The question is, are you tuned to the frequency where that abundance can physically find you? And here is where the trap lies. Here is where most spiritual seekers get stuck in the mud of their own good intentions. They think tuning themselves means doing more. They think it requires working harder, sweating more, meditating for 3 hours instead of 30 minutes, affirming until their throat is sore. They treat vibration like a muscle to be pumped, but tuning isn't about addition. Tuning is about subtraction. It is not about adding more noise to the signal. It is about removing the interference. It is about stripping away the static caused by your limiting beliefs, your ancestral fears, and the repetitive stories about your own unworthiness that are blocking the signal already trying to reach you. Jessica's marketplace exists in your life right now. It is not a fable. Every single day you walk past treasures that are waiting for you to become ready for them. You walk past the love of your life in a coffee shop, but you don't look up because you believe you are unlovable. You scroll past the investment opportunity that could retire you, but you don't click because you believe money is evil. You ignore the intuition that could save your life because you have been trained to trust logic over gut knowing. These things are there. They are present. They are real, but you are rendering them invisible because your consciousness hasn't matched their frequency. You are like a radio tuned to 88.5 FM, complaining that there is no music on 101.1 FM. The music is there, blasting. You just aren't receiving it. So the question, the only question that matters, becomes, how do you raise your frequency? How do you become the person who sees what is invisible to who you are right now? The answer is counterintuitive. You do not do it through force. Force lowers frequency. It introduces tension, which is a form of resistance. You do it through presence. You do it not through striving, but through stillness. You do it not by seeking more, but by releasing what is blocking you from receiving what is already here. I'm going to give you a practice now. We call this the gratitude gateway practice. But pause here. Do not treat this as just another tip. Do not consume this as information and file it away in your brain under spiritual ideas. What I am about to share is not information. It is activation. It is a code, and if you let it in, if you actually execute this code in the software of your mind, it will shift the way reality delivers to you from this moment forward. Tonight, before you drift into the unconscious state of sleep, sit in a quiet space. You don't need incense, you don't need crystals, you don't need a guru. You just need your own awareness. This is not meditation in the traditional sense of clearing your mind. This is an active recall process. Simply sit to remember. Think back over the timeline of your existence, the last month, the last year, the last decade. I want you to identify 3 specific things, 3 moments, 3 teachings, 3 encounters that appeared at the exact razor-sharp instant you needed them. I'm talking about the synchronicities that make the hair on your arm stand up. Think about the arrival of these gifts. They didn't come a day earlier when you would have been too immature to understand them. They didn't come a day later when the window of opportunity would have slammed shut. They arrived exactly when your soul was open enough to receive the transmission. Maybe it was a book someone randomly mentioned at a party, and when you opened it, it answered a question you had been screaming internally for years. Maybe it was a catastrophic breakdown, a firing, a breakup, a loss that forced you into the breakthrough you had been avoiding out of fear. Maybe it was a stranger on a bus who said 7 words that rewrote your entire understanding of yourself. Find these 3 moments, hunt for them in your memory, and as you recall each one, as you visualize the scene, I want you to speak this truth aloud. Do not just think it. Vibrate the air with your voice. Say, I recognize the perfect timing of all gifts. Feel that statement. Then say, I trust the wisdom that guides their arrival. And finally, I am ready to receive what seeks me now. This is not a fluffy affirmation designed to make you feel cozy. This is quantum acknowledgement. You are interacting with the field. You are telling the field of consciousness, I see you. You are validating the connection. You are saying, I recognize the superintelligence that orchestrates my life, and I am opening the aperture of my awareness to receive what is already on its way. When you practice this consistently, not once, but as a ritual, something remarkable begins to happen to your reality. The universe, which is responsive to your observation, begins to respond to your awareness. Opportunities that would have previously flown past you at light speed suddenly slow down. They enter your gravity well. You notice them. Teachers who would have walked past you stop and turn around, drawn by the signal you are emitting. Books that would have remained dusty on the shelf practically fall into your hands. Why? Because you have become energetically visible to what is seeking you. You have turned on your transponder. The gratitude gateway isn't just about being thankful. That is too passive. It's about tuning your consciousness to the frequency where synchronicity taki becomes your default reality. Try it tonight. And I want you to prove you are part of this active field. Comment below with this exact phrase, I am ready to receive what seeks me. Do not just read and consume like a passive data eater. Engage. Let that comment be your signal flare to the field. It is your declaration that you are no longer living in the consciousness of seeking, the energy of I don't have it, but in the consciousness of receiving, the energy of it is here. When you complete this practice tonight, pay attention. You will notice something subtle but profound in the days that follow. You will start seeing patterns you've been missing. You will see the weave of the matrix. Synchronicities that were always there but invisible to your previous state of awareness will start popping like flashbulbs. It's not that the universe suddenly starts working for you. It's that you finally start working with the universe. There is a second layer to this practice that deepens everything. This is for the advanced students, the ones who want to go behind the curtain. Once you have acknowledged the three gifts, sit with this dangerous question. What was I believing about myself, about life, about reality right before each gift appeared? Because here is what you will discover if you are brutally honest. Each treasure arrived not randomly, but at the precise moment when your consciousness shifted from one frequency to another. It appeared when you moved from doubt to openness, from resistance to surrender, from frantic seeking to calm allowing. That shift, that internal click, is what created the opening in the fabric of your reality. And when you become conscious of this pattern, when you reverse engineer your own miracles, you gain the ability to create openings intentionally. You stop waiting for life to beat you into readiness. You stop waiting for a crisis to force you to let go. You start choosing readiness as your default state. You become the architect of your own receptivity. Now let me take you somewhere else. We need to leave the marketplace and go to the forge. I want to tell you the story of the blacksmith's lesson on surrender. This story contains a principle that most high achievers spend their entire lives resisting, to their own detriment. It will show you why effort in the traditional masculine force-based sense might be the very thing preventing what you want from arriving. We travel now to a landscape of fire and earth, to the volcanic valleys where the planet's molten core rises dangerously close to the surface. Here lived a master blacksmith named Brandon Rodriguez. His forge was legendary. Travelers claimed the ringing of his anvil could be heard in their dreams for days after they left the valley. Brandon was a virtuoso of violence. For decades, he had mastered the art of bending metal to his will. He understood heat, he understood leverage, and he understood force. His entire philosophy was built on the idea that if you strike something hard enough, with enough precision, it must submit to your vision. He was celebrated across kingdoms for his ability to dominate the elements, to make iron kneel before him. He was the archetype of the self-made warrior, the man who conquers reality through sheer, unadulterated will. But Brandon had a secret. A frustration was growing in his gut like a tumor. One morning, he placed a piece of strange, dark metal on his anvil. He raised his heavy hammer, intending to shape it into a blade. He struck. The hammer shattered. The metal remained unmarked. He tried again with a new tool. He applied more heat, turning the forge into a blinding inferno. He struck from different angles. He used every technique he had mastered in 30 years of blood and sweat. Nothing worked. The metal refused him completely. It did not bend. It did not break. It simply existed, indifferent to his struggle. That night, exhausted, humiliated, and confused, Brandon collapsed beside his cooling forge. His ego lay in ruins around him. And in that twilight state, in the hypnagogic space between waking and sleep, where the conscious mind surrenders control, something impossible happened. He heard the metal speak. It did not use human words. It used a transmission of pure feeling, a direct download of knowing. It whispered into his mind, "Your force creates resistance. Your surrender reveals my truth. I am not meant to be conquered. I am meant to flow into form." The transmission was a shockwave to his system. It contradicted everything he had ever been taught about power. He had spent his life believing that power was the ability to impose one's will upon the external world. But the metal was teaching him a higher physics, that imposition creates an equal and opposite reaction of resistance. When Brandon woke the next morning, the world looked different. The colors were sharper. The air felt alive. He approached that same stubborn piece of iron, but this time, he left his hammer on the rack. He did not come to conquer, he came to commune. He placed his hands near the metal and, for the first time, he simply listened. He felt for the metal's natural desire to transform. He tuned into its atomic structure. He moved with its rhythm instead of crashing against it. When he stopped trying to dominate the material and started partnering with it, miracles began to emerge from his forge. He didn't just make swords, he birthed artifacts. He created alloys that were lighter than feathers but stronger than diamond. He forged blades that, legend says, did not cut flesh but severed illusions. He crafted shields that didn't just block arrows, they deflected the frequency of fear itself. Word spread faster than fire. A warrior prince traveled across scorching deserts to stand in Brandon's smoke-filled shop and demanded his secret. "What technique are you using?" the prince demanded. "What is the trick?" Brandon smiled, holding a glowing ingot as gently as if it were a sleeping child. I don't have a secret, he said. I simply listen to what wants to become, and I help it arrive. Let that land in your heart for a moment. Really feel the weight of it. How much of your life have you spent trying to force outcomes? How many years have you wasted pushing against resistance, fighting to make your business grow, fighting to make your partner change, fighting to make your body heal, using sheer will and grit? And how often has that forcing created the very obstacles you were trying to overcome? Here is the truth that rewrites the laws of success. Creation doesn't respond to dominance. It responds to harmony. When you stop fighting the universe's current and start flowing with it, you become a superconductor for power you couldn't possibly access through effort alone. Your desires do not manifest because you conquered them into existence. That is the old way. That is Newtonian physics, action and reaction. We are operating in quantum physics. Your desires manifest because you aligned with the natural unfolding of what is already trying to emerge. This is where most high performers get stuck. They think manifestation is about mental discipline. They think it's about visualizing hard enough, gripping the steering wheel of life until their knuckles turn white. But real manifestation, the kind that creates lasting transformation, isn't about force. It's about resonance. The universe is not waiting for you to prove yourself worthy through struggle. It doesn't want your blood. It wants your alignment. It is waiting for you to soften enough to receive what is already yours. This is the secret that every master craftsman, every true artist, every person who has created something genuinely extraordinary eventually discovers. You cannot force excellence. You can only create the conditions where excellence naturally emerges. You cannot dominate beauty into existence. You can only align with it so completely that it flows through you without obstruction. Brandon's transformation wasn't about learning a new technique. It was about unlearning an old belief, the belief that control equals power. He discovered that true power comes from partnership, from recognizing that you are not separate from the forces you are trying to shape, but part of the same unified field. This applies to everything in your life, your relationships, your career, your creative projects, your spiritual path. Anytime you are forcing, you are creating resistance. Anytime you are flowing, you are creating possibility. But here is what is subtle about this, and where people get confused. Flowing does not mean being passive. It doesn't mean you sit on the couch and wait for Uber Eats to deliver your destiny. It doesn't mean you stop taking action or making decisions. It means your actions and decisions arise from no attunement rather than anxiety. They come from presence rather than pressure. They come from trust rather than terror. You can feel the difference in your body right now. When you are forcing, check your physiology. Your jaw is tight. Your breath is shallow and high in your chest. Your shoulders are up by your ears. You are bracing for impact. When you are flowing, there is still effort, sometimes tremendous, sweating effort, but it is easeful. It doesn't deplete you. It enlivens you. It feels like riding a wave rather than paddling against a tsunami. Here is how you embody this principle right now. Stop reading for a moment. Sit up straight. Place your hands on your knees, palms facing upward. This isn't just symbolic, it is an energetic circuit. You are physically opening yourself to receive instead of clenching your fists in effort. Now breathe, but not your normal, unconscious breathing. Conscious breathing. With each exhale, you're going to release one layer of control. Inhale slowly. As you do, say internally, I am the universe flowing freely. Exhale completely. As you do, let the tension drain from your shoulders, your jaw, your hands. Actually feel it release like water flowing down a drain. Inhale again. I am divine will in motion. Exhale. Release resistance from your mind. Release the tight grip you've been holding on specific outcomes. Release the fear that if you don't force things, nothing will happen. That is the ego's greatest lie. Inhale. I am perfect cosmic timing. Exhale. Surrender the need to control when and how your life unfolds. Continue this for at least 2 minutes, maybe longer, until you feel something shift inside you, until you feel lighter, more open, like molten metal ready to flow into whatever form life has prepared for you. This stance, this openness, is the most powerful stance you can take, because when you stop blocking the universe with your own frantic effort, you allow it to move through you with effortless precision. You become a vessel, and a vessel can be filled. A closed fist cannot. Take a moment and share in the comments. What is one area of your life where you have been forcing instead of flowing? What would it look like to surrender that struggle and trust the process? Your reflection might be exactly what someone else needs to read today to give them permission to let go. Now, let's shift gears. I want to talk about something that haunts almost everyone watching this: sacred timing. Let me share something that might challenge everything you believe about how your life has unfolded so far. You think you are late. You look at your age, your bank account, your peers, and you think you have missed the boat. You think, if only I had known this teaching 5 years ago, if only I had started 10 years ago, everything would be different. You carry this heavy, wet blanket of regret. But here is what shifts everything. You are exactly on time. The reason you are watching this now, not last year, not next month, but now, is because this is the precise moment your consciousness can integrate what is being transmitted. If you had encountered this teaching earlier, you would have intellectually understood it, sure. You might have underlined a few sentences, but you wouldn't have embodied it. The experiences you've lived, the pain you've endured, the confusion you've navigated, all of it was preparing the soil of your awareness for these seeds to take root. The universe doesn't make mistakes with timing. It is a precise mathematical system. Think about the stories we explored. Jessica's impossible marketplace didn't operate on customer demand. It operated on customer readiness. The copper bowl existed long before the traveler arrived. It was sitting there on the table for years, but it only became real. It only activated its full potential when his consciousness matched its frequency. The same is true for you right now. This teaching has existed in various forms for millennia. It is nothing new, but it is appearing in your life now, because now is when you can do something with it. Now is when your soul has evolved enough to not just hear these words, but to let them restructure your reality. There is a concept in quantum physics called the observer effect. It states that the act of observation changes what is being observed. Particles exist in superposition, meaning they exist in all possible states simultaneously until they are observed. At that moment, they collapse into one specific reality. Your consciousness works the same way. The teachings you are ready for collapse into your reality the moment you are capable of observing them at their deepest level. Not surface understanding, not intellectual agreement, but embodied recognition. You have been walking toward this moment your entire life. Every book that didn't quite satisfy you was pointing you here. Every teacher who helped but couldn't complete your journey was preparing you for this. Every moment of confusion, every dark night of the soul, every time you almost gave up but didn't, it was all part of the navigation system bringing you to this exact frequency. So, no, you are not late. You are not behind. You haven't missed anything. You are right on time. And the fact that you feel something stirring in you as you hear this, that is not just emotion. That is recognition. That is your soul remembering what it has always known, but forgot while moving through a world that taught you to doubt cosmic intelligence. Now, what we are exploring today is the recognition principle. It is the understanding that readiness unlocks what is already present, but this is just one frequency in a much larger spectrum. If you were sensing there is more beneath this, you are right. There is a mechanics to this that goes deeper than just feeling ready. It involves the specific geometry of how you dismantle the frequency prison entirely and step into effortless creation as the field itself. When you truly grasp that you are not behind, that you haven't missed your window, that the universe hasn't forgotten you, something fundamental shifts in how you move through life. You stop rushing, you stop forcing, you stop living in the anxiety of, I should have done this sooner, or what if it's too late. Instead, you start trusting the unfolding. You start recognizing that every delay was actually preparation, every detour was actually protection, every moment of waiting was actually ripening. This doesn't mean you sit around doing nothing, waiting for the universe to deliver. It means you stay active, engaged, present, but from a place of trust. rather than desperation. You take action because you are inspired, not because you are terrified of being left behind. And here is what is magical about this shift. When you stop rushing ahead of your own readiness, when you start trusting your timing, opportunities begin appearing that were completely invisible before, not because they weren't there, but because you weren't there. Your consciousness wasn't at the frequency where they could register. Now let's talk about something most spiritual teachers won't tell you, because it undermines the entire industry of seeking. Before we go there, I want to hear from you again. I want to ground this in reality. Comment below with one moment in your life when something appeared at exactly the right time, when the universe's timing was undeniable. When you share these stories, you are not just reflecting, you are activating that same recognition for others and strengthening the pattern in your own field. You are proving the thesis. Most spiritual paths tell you to seek, to search, to journey far and wide looking for truth. And there is value in that. Movement creates momentum, questions open doors, exploration expands awareness. But there is a shadow side to seeking, one that no one talks about, and it is dangerous. When you are always searching for the next teaching, the next breakthrough, the next level of consciousness, you are operating from a frequency of lack. You are telling the universe, what I have isn't enough, where I am isn't enough, who I am isn't enough. And the universe, being the perfect mirror that it is, responds by giving you more to seek. It gives you more distance. It gives you more questions without answers. The cosmic marketplace does not open its deepest treasures to those who are desperately searching. It opens to those who have become still enough to receive. This is the paradox at the heart of all transformation. You can't find what you're looking for by looking. You find it by becoming the person who no longer needs to look, because they have recognized that everything they sought was already within them. Remember Jessica's items in the marketplace? They didn't reveal themselves to the seekers who came demanding, grasping, trying to acquire. They revealed themselves to those who had searched long enough to finally stop searching, who had journeyed far enough to realize the journey was always internal. The traveler who received the copper bowl, his searching was complete not because he found the object, but because his consciousness had evolved beyond the frequency of seeking into the frequency of recognition. Can you feel the difference? Seeking is external. Recognition is internal. Seeking says, I need something I don't have. Recognition says, I'm ready to see what is already here. This doesn't mean you stop growing. It doesn't mean you stop learning. It means you shift from the energy of chasing to the energy of unfolding, from the vibration of lack to the vibration of readiness. And that shift, that subtle but profound recalibration of your energetic stance, changes everything. There is a teaching from the Zen tradition that captures this perfectly. A student approaches a master and asks, how long will it take me to achieve enlightenment? The master responds, 10 years. The student, eager and ambitious, says, but what if I work twice as hard? What if I don't sleep? What if I study every text? The master replies, then 20 years. Do you see what is being revealed here? The harder you seek, the further away you move from what you are seeking, because seeking itself creates separation. It reinforces the belief that what you want is somewhere else, sometime else, with someone else. But recognition dissolves that separation. It reveals that what you have been seeking was never absent. You were just looking past it, through it, beyond it, convinced the truth must be more complicated, more distant, more difficult to access than it actually is. This is the great cosmic joke. The treasure you have been searching for across continents and decades has been in your own backyard the entire time, not metaphorically, literally. It has been in your awareness, your presence, your simple capacity to see what is, rather than what you think should be. And the moment you stop seeking and start seeing, everything you need begins revealing itself. Not because it is finally arriving, but because you finally arrived at the consciousness that can receive it. Let me show you what is really encoded in these ancient stories. When the text speaks of merchants and blacksmiths, when it describes impossible objects and mystical transformations, it isn't asking you to believe in magic. It is asking you to recognize the magic that is already operating in your life. Invisible invisible only because you have been trained not to see it. Every person you have ever met was either a teacher or a student, often both simultaneously. Every challenge you faced was either a prison or a classroom, depending on how you chose to perceive it. Every moment of your existence has been a cosmic transaction, with the universe offering you exactly what you needed to evolve, and you either accepting or refusing based on your level of readiness. The marketplace isn't somewhere else. It is here. It is now. It is the field of possibility that surrounds you in every moment. And you are both Jessica and the traveler. You are both the merchant with impossible wares and the seeker finally ready to receive them. Part of you holds treasures you don't yet know how to access, gifts that are waiting for the rest of you to catch up. And another part of you is walking through the marketplace right now, eyes opening to what has always been available, hands finally empty enough to receive instead of grasp. Now, let's get uncomfortably honest for a moment. Most people will listen to this, feel inspired, and then do absolutely nothing. They will return to their regular programming. Why? Because receiving requires integration, and integration requires you to actually change, not just intellectually agree with the idea of change, but to rewire your daily behaviors, your automatic reactions, your unconscious patterns. The universe is infinitely abundant. It is offering you everything all the time, but you can only receive what your current identity has space to hold. If your identity is built around struggle, you will unconsciously reject ease when it appears. If your identity is built around unworthiness, you will sabotage gifts before you fully receive them. If your identity is built around seeking, you will look past what is right in front of you, convinced the real treasure must be somewhere else. This is why we emphasize readiness over effort. You can't force yourself ready. You can't fake it. Your nervous system knows the truth. Your energy field broadcasts your actual state, not your desired state. And the universe responds to what you are, not what you claim to be. So how do you become ready? By releasing what is blocking your readiness, by identifying the beliefs, stories, and identities that keep you vibrating at a frequency where the deepest gifts can't reach you. For some of you, it is the belief that you have to earn love through suffering. For others, it is the story that you are fundamentally broken. For others still, it is the identity of being behind. These aren't just thoughts, they are energetic barriers. But here is the good news. The moment you step into this new frequency, your old identity begins to disintegrate, not as punishment, but as necessity. You cannot hold new consciousness in old containers. There is a collapse. It's coming, and it is exactly what you need. The moment you decide you are ready, the parts of you that were not ready must fall away. Let them go. We are at the threshold. This is the final invitation. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting for some external authority to tell you that now, finally, you are ready. You are ready now. You have always been ready. You just needed to remember. The marketplace is open. The forge is lit. The copper bowl is humming with recognition. The universe is watching, not to judge, but to witness the moment you stop seeking and start receiving. Everything you have ever wanted is waiting for you to become the person who no longer needs to want it because they have it energetically. Let that be your new frequency. Let that be your declaration. Let that be the truth you carry forward from this moment on. You are ready. The universe knows it. And now, so do you. This moment right here, this is the shift. Not between who you were and who you'll become, but between the version of you that doubts and the version that embodies. Both exist simultaneously. Both are available right now. The only question is which one you are going to feed your attention, your energy, your belief. Because here is the final truth that nobody tells you. The universe isn't testing your readiness to see if you are worthy. It is responding to your readiness because that is how the system works. Consciousness recognizes consciousness. Frequency attracts frequency, and the moment you stop performing readiness and start being it, everything you have been preparing for begins flowing toward you, not in some distant future, now. In the decisions you make today, in the way you show up for yourself tonight, in the lens through which you interpret tomorrow's challenges. The book has appeared, the teaching has found you, the cosmic marketplace has opened its doors, and you are standing at the threshold with everything you need to walk through. The only question left is, will you? Will you choose the frequency of readiness over the comfort of familiar limitation? Will you trust that what is seeking you is worth surrendering the identity you have been clinging to? If the answer is yes, and I sense that it is, otherwise you wouldn't still be here, then your entire life is about to reflect that yes back to you in ways that will leave you breathless. This is the teaching beneath all teachings, the secret hidden in plain sight, the treasure that was never lost, only waiting for you to recognize it. You are ready. You have always been ready, and everything that happens from this moment forward will prove that truth to you again and again. Welcome home. Now, if you have truly grasped what readiness means, you need to understand what happens next, because the collapse of the old self is inevitable, and you need to know how to navigate it. If you are ready to expand your consciousness and step into your next quantum leap, subscribe now. Do not let this moment pass. Leave a comment below with your declaration, "I am ready," and share this message with someone who is ready to awaken. Join the field. Stay in the frequency. We are just getting started.